We're live. Forgot to unmute unmute, not unmute my mic. Yeah, I forgot to unmute my mic, and I forgot to. Oh, fucking! I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing tonight. I'm fucked. Yeah, this is a very, very much a drunken stream and a stone stream. Very much a drunken stream because I'm fucking hammered right now. I'm not gonna lie. Dave's probably pretty hammered as well. JT's stoned as fuck. So it is what it is. This is what you pay for. Well, you don't pay for it. It's free of charge. So let's just get this thing going. It's a drunken stream. Let's bring Dave on. Dave, what's up, man?
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
The best way to go,
Absolutely.
Anything goes tonight, Anything goes, anything goes. So we can rant, we can rage, we can just,
Oh, like we do anyway.
Yeah, like we do anyway, but in a more drunken, stoned way. And let's talking of stone. Let's bring on JT. JT, what's up, man?
Yeah, always got to bring that up from my nice holiday season. But it's good to see it. Your intros are long, man.
I'm trying to bring up the tension. Trying to bring, get the excitement going. I don't know how much excitement there is.
It gets me excited. It gets me more nervous.
Yeah, it does get me more nervous.
I'm trying to, yeah.
We were
I thought the longer the intro goes on, maybe more I'll sober up. I don't know if that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work.
You Brits and your drinking, man.
We do like our drink. We do like our drink.
Who's in
You Americans like your weed.
They like to drink it too.
Yeah, we like our weed as well.
Oh, I'm sure you
like
do.
Two peas in a pod.
You live on a fucking island, man. You can probably grow all that.
Well, no. Dave lives on an island within an island.
Yeah.
So, we live on an island, but Dave's island is separate from my island.
Literally,
It's a bit.
It's separate islands we're talking. Yes.
Yeah.
So hang on. So it's a bit like Long Island.
Yes.
Yeah, Long Island's not connected to the mainland, is it?
It is.
So Dave is basically, is it connected to the mainland?
Yeah, it's like a peninsula. Peninsula, actually.
Okay. Well, we'll
surrounded on
just
three
imagine.
sides. But
okay,
it's a bridge that takes you in.
Okay, imagine just cut the bridge off. Just cut effort off and just
cut the bridge off.
Dave, think of an island. Well, yeah, think of Rikers Island.
Rikers Island.
That's an island, isn't it?
Yes,
it's a prison.
It's a prison. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
indeed, it is. It is a very notoriously bad prison.
Yeah. So Dave basically lives on the
British Alcatraz.
He's like a British Alcatraz.
That's funny.
Where all our undesirables go to where Dave is.
Yeah, they literally say the island man's like.
But we have a desirable here. We got our boy Dave. He's a desirable one. So we got one of them at least.
I try.
Maybe the three others on your island. Who knows how they are? But
they'll be drunk.
Yeah, probably. I gotta still see that movie. Gareth was talking about Grabbers, where you have to survive the monsters.
The Irish one.
Sounds like such a clever premise. It's executed funnily.
I've not seen
Gareth mention that.
No, I've never seen it.
Gareth mentioned it a week or two ago or something like that.
It's
been a while. Creatures and monsters and
it's Irish.
The only way to not get attacked by them, is to be intoxicated heavily.
Well, at the end of the day,
so you got to be just pissed to survive.
Well, if there's one sort of not race, legion of people more pissed than British, it's Irish. So
no,
the Irish.
I am Irish. I've been to Ireland twice. It is beautiful.
It is.
And
it
is no joke. It is no stereotype. Yes, it is no stereotype. They are. I went for a wedding with a family. Did I ever tell this story? I feel like I've told you guys the story. On the exact same stream 2 weeks ago. But we went to Ireland.
We were probably pissed last time, so we don't remember it. So,
so it works then. We me and my parents and my sister 10 years ago, something like that, went to Ireland and for a wedding. And like the night before the wedding, everyone's getting just pissed at the bar and just getting drunk out of their minds. And around like 2:00 in the morning or so, mornings, the wedding's it's like 8:00, you got to be up and stuff. And they all start shutting the bar down. And we're like, all right, I guess, we're going to bed. And they're like, no, we're going downstairs to the other pub. They went downstairs to another pub. And when we woke up the next morning, like 9 in the morning, 8 in the morning, there's half of them still down there drinking. They never went to bed. And then they go to a wedding. It's no joke. They don't stop.
Yeah.
That's just called a Sunday, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day's a Sunday over there.
Every day's a Sunday.
Let's just jump in the chat before we get going. We got Lauren in the chat. What's up, Lauren? I ain't paying you, pay me.
Lauren?
Long Island is New York's giant penis.
Yes, it is.
I get that.
Oh, I live on a giant penis.
Sophie says, JT, do you have a snack you like when you have been on the weeds? Scooby snacks.
Pretzels.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Pretzels are great.
Yeah.
Chess is in the chat. We've got Chess in the chat. We've got Big T in the chat.
What's going on, Sophie? What's going on?
Gareth was here briefly, but he's past his bedtime.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He came in, typed a message, and then went to bed.
Yeah, definitely.
Needs his beauty sleep, Gareth.
So, what do we want to talk about tonight? This is a chill stream.
We have the movies that just came out.
I'm not no pressure. No, I'm just gonna relax tonight. I know it's on my channel, but I just want to just chill and just let's just chat. And so no pressure on me.
You're good, man.
Over you, JT. Over to you, JT. Come on, what do you want to talk about?
All right. Well, let's see.
Putting all the pressure on you.
No pressure, mate.
Dave, did you do your homework and watch any of the movies?
I did. If I knew we were going to have a chilled out stream tonight, I wouldn't have fucking bothered watching it. I would have turned it off.
Did you watch? No. To be fair, no.
Yeah.
Did you watch Sick? Right.
Yeah,
yes.
I did, mate.
You weren't a fan. You weren't a fan.
No.
Okay.
Mike loves it, apparently.
I don't mind it. No. I don't mind. No. I don't mind it. It was okay. I'm not saying it wasn't the greatest thing of all time. I have got an issue with
my fellow 80s slasher fan. Thinks it's all right. I guess that's cool. You like Scream. I don't.
I don't like the way they portrayed on the film poster. They've got a guy with a COVID mask on. When that was never part of the. In no points of the film did the killer is. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen the movie, we're going to spoil it.
Trust me, you're not missing much.
At what point did they wear a COVID mask?
They do actually, don't they?
Balaclava. Yeah, but come on, it was
because the wife is yelling at the husband and saying, "Put your mask on."
Majority of the time, it's a balaclava. It's not really a COVID mask.
It's insanely stupid.
I will say this. I'll start.
What were your thoughts, Dave? Yeah. What were your thoughts?
I'll start off with the positives of the movie, right? So, I thought the film was well directed. I will give it that.
I thought so.
Yeah, I thought it was well directed, and I thought the action scenes, what they had when it kicks in, were actually quite decent. And for some of it, I like the main two characters, the two girls, more for the last act of the movie than the first half. I liked how the film didn't make them victims, you know what I mean? They really hold their own. And I like that in horror movies, where they don't make the killers or whatever superhuman. And then normal people are
exactly.
So I like how they portrayed the girls in it. I like how they held their own, my big issue with the movie is, and I think it's just a personal thing, maybe, I don't know, and I don't know how you guys feel. I'm not into this whole fucking films making COVID the plot or anything. It's just, I'm not down for it. I'm just not. It
was sketchy the way they played it at the end, but the thing I liked about it is that the scene where, spoiler alerts, by the way, if you haven't seen the film, then just stay.
Just spoil it, mate. Just
the whole screen here is a spoiler alert.
Obviously, Jeb, I think his name's been killed, and they've got the dad who's chasing her down.
Yeah,
they go into the road, and she kind of knocks him unconscious to a point. and then the car turns up. And it's obviously the wife of the husband, and
Hold on,
she's
Mike.
she's
Mike, sorry to interrupt you. Just if anyone in chat like really doesn't want to hear spoilers, like just let us know quick. Just you know, it's our Sunday, so
Yeah.
Look, we're not talking. We're not talking about Empire Strikes Back in 1980. This is fucking. This is fucking. This is some fucking. This is some fucking peacock slasher film from
by Kevin Williamson.
who gives a fuck, man?
Yeah, we're not talking Infinity War here.
Oh, that's fine.
Nobody fucking cares, man.
Oh, I took the piss out of me.
If you do care, you don't because it's not worth your time. So basically, yeah, go back to like you know, obviously she's she's knocked him unconscious, whatever. She's in the road. The car turns up. It's the wife of the killer, mother of killer, and you know she says, "Oh, you know, have you got a mask? You know, I can't let you in." And obviously that's all part of the plot. You know, it's all part of getting her in. You know, because she's obviously she's obviously involved in the thing. But the thing about the whole COVID like madness at the time, you could totally believe that there would be people who would not let you in a car,
100%.
even if you were getting fucking chased down by a psychopath and you've got fucking blood all over your face and body. There would be fucking freaks out there who would say,
"Yeah,
I can't let you in the car because you've not got a mask on."
And yeah, I'm glad you refer to them as freaks because
I quite like that. You know, the way they played on that crazy COVID narrative of just like the way some people went to the extreme. There are people out there who would literally have not let you into their car because you didn't have a mask on. And I like that.
Won't let you into their car for any reason.
The film's not great. The film. Oh, Ricky's in the chat. What's up, Ricky? Ricky, do you want to jump?
Up, Ricky?
Ricky,
you want to jump on?
Oh, Ricky, man.
Ricky, jump on.
Ricky, I'll put a link in, man.
Absolutely. Come on, Ricky.
I was just going to tell you, Mike. I said we got to get Ricky on one Sunday for this.
And if anybody else wants to jump on,
I was just watching the stream with him and Gareth with Mary Poppins, like before we hopped on.
Anybody else wants to jump on? Please jump on. This is a pretty random, chilled out stream. So just
Ricky, grab yourself a beer, mate. And come on a rant with us. But no, that part you were talking about, Mike, in that movie, before it kind of revealed that she was the mother and she was part of it, I was nearly going to bash my head through my fucking coffee table, mate, when she was going like, oh no, seriously. When she was going, oh no, do you have a mask? And I'm thinking, what the? I was like, it was driving me crazy. Like really driving me crazy. But then
but you recognised where they were going with it as well, and like because there are fucking people who were like that, and
that's why it was making me like. That's why I was like, it was just taking.
You wanted to kill this woman,
it was just taking me back to 2 years ago when it was all kicking off, and like my own experiences through COVID dealing with fucking
Ricky,
freak shows.
What a disappointment. Ricky's up for anything usually. What happened to you, man? I thought you were cool.
Terrence,
it's cool, man. You got to come on one Sunday though, Ricky, for sure.
Terrence, jump on, man. Terrence, anyone who wants to jump on. Laura, jump on. Anybody jump on. It's open bar tonight, man.
Lauren and I can talk about my first Aliens viewing experience.
Well, before we get to that, mate, I'm just going to say, so the end of Sick, when it gets revealed why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I'll give my thoughts after you.
I rolled my eyes in the back of my fucking head, mate. I really did. I just went, no, like
it's
so fucking extreme. And don't get me wrong,
so dumb.
There were fucking weirdos and psychopaths out there during this COVID. Like they that went just stupid, crazy, above and beyond with everything. I get it, but there's only so much I can like. There's only so much I can believe.
There's only so much you can suspend disbelief.
Yeah, and I just went like, no, just not for me, mate. And I just don't feel like I'm just going to avoid these COVID plot movies because I just don't want. want to forget about all that shit, man. I don't
Yeah,
need it.
basically.
I don't need Hollywood going, oh, do you remember this from fucking? No,
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
No, that makes
Basically.
sense.
Hey, what's up,
This is
DJ?
what,
Just give a shout out to DJ. Give a shout out to
what's up,
Jamie as well in
DJ?
chat.
And Jamie, what's
DJ
going on,
Jamie,
Jamie?
what's
How
up?
are you? So yeah, my thoughts on it were basically, you guys know how much I love Kevin Williamson stuff with Scream, and I know what you did last summer, and The Faculty is the exception. Like,
I love that movie.
I adore The Faculty.
That's
For
brilliant.
some reason, part of me doesn't even believe Williamson wrote it. Like,
That's me now.
like that maybe he had a ghostwriter or someone wrote it with him.
I'm
Because,
drinking lots of water now. Does that mean I'm taking over?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting taken over. I got to do that. I got to do that movie soon because
I'm drinking water
watch
too.
that. It's a very weird looking water there.
It's got ice in it.
Oh, all right, so that makes sense.
It's
You
whiskey
got
coloured
ice,
ice.
you got water. But besides that, that's the only thing from Williamson that I have any attachment to, that I have nostalgia for, that I just enjoy that living hell out of that movie.
Did you not like Dawson's Creek?
No.
Yeah.
Funny thing, actually, that's not the only thing. That's the only film.
All
And
right.
I'll get shit for this, and I don't give a shit.
Okay.
I had an ex-girlfriend, probably maybe 8 years ago, something like that, and she was into the Vampire Diaries on CW.
I've never seen it.
Williamson created and wrote for the show, and it was right like when Twilight was like in its peak, and everyone was into the glittery, stupid vampires and love triangles and stuff like that. This isn't like that stupid. And she was trying to get me into it for like 8-9 episodes. I'm fighting it. I'm like, oh, we really like this the girl with 2 vampires that are brothers and shit. And like, really? And then it just drew me in, man. Like after like the 9th, 10th episode, it starts getting really actually pretty good for a CW show. Like unbelievably like good for a like it shouldn't have happened. Like it's, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I absolutely adore that show. Maybe it's nostalgia too from back then.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the reason why you broke up.
Oh no. There's much better stories.
All right, another time.
So that's the only 2 things for Williamson, and like you guys know, slashers are my favorite genre of horror. Like especially late 70s and especially the 80s. I love the 3 things I look for in a slasher movie are great kills and practical effects, gore, and it's like a good looking killer or like good performances and tits. And then tits and naked girls. That's it. It's not hard to like satisfy slasher fans. Like it really isn't. It's like, and just all of that's why I don't care for Scream. I mean, there's a much deep-rooted, unknown reason to me that for Scream why I don't like that fucking series so much.
I love your hatred for Scream, mate. I love it.
I said in my video on Scream 5, I said I don't know if maybe I was like molested by like someone in a ghost face costume in my past, like after the first movie, and I blocked it out, and I have a deep rooted like hatred.
I'm so glad I'm drinking tonight.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I said in the video, I said I don't know what it is.
He's revealing his innermost 40 tonight, JT.
I don't know. Those are out in the video like 5 days ago.
Abused by someone in a Scream mask when he was in a previous life or something.
I think that's might have been what happened, honestly.
Listen, mate,
I think that might have been the solution, because
just lie down and talk to us.
Yeah, I will. I'll lie down like I'm in a nice little office, comfy chair.
I'm just here with a notepad, mate, just writing down. It's all right. Go on.
Oh yeah, Sophie, if you don't watch my channel enough, you don't know my sense of humor. You know, she said that took a dark turn.
Big TS question. This is now the 2nd theatrical streaming slasher horror movie from Peacock. Did you like this film better or They Them? Or this is way better than They Them?
I actually still haven't seen They Them, and I had no desire to.
Yeah, I'm the same because I've just what I've heard about it. I've got no interest. No,
it's exactly what you think it is. It's exactly what you think it is.
Can't be bothered, mate. No, I'm good.
Why Kevin Bacon is
us and them?
Why the fuck Kevin Bacon is Kevin Bacon in this film? Like why? He's
Bacon?
He's taking a paycheck
nowadays.
He's taking a paycheck now. He's taking a paycheck.
Why Bacon anything nowadays?
I mean, Kevin Bacon now. I don't know about like Dave will vouch for me on this one, but Kevin Bacon now in the UK is more known for
Mobile
hawking
phone outfit.
mobile phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Once you see any old celebrity or big celebrity in the past start doing cellular commercials and shit like that, or car commercials, they're done. Like their career is just
Ka-ching, ka-ching,
Yeah,
ka-ching.
exactly.
That's all it
And
is.
it's sad when you see great ones like Samuel L. Jackson. He does like a credit card commercial or something like that. That's
I don't
it.
think we have that in the UK, do we?
No, I've not seen
I
Samuel L.
don't know,
Jackson.
Samuel L.
No.
Jackson does some commercials for companies and stuff like
I'm
that.
sure he does.
But it's fucking Samuel L. Jackson though. I mean, he's a legend, so I
Yeah.
forgive him.
He is.
I forgive him for the advert.
The day that Daniel Day-Lewis does a TV commercial is the day when
Hell Freeze
movies
is
are
over.
finished. Hell
Yeah,
Freeze is
yeah.
over. It's like
But he needs to do it
Yeah,
like his character from Gangs of New York. He needs to
Yeah.
do it like
Yeah,
that.
right.
He's going to do it.
in full
Bill the
costume
Butcher.
and everything.
Yeah. Just tapping his
That's
glass
funny.
eye.
That's funny. One of my favorite movies of all time is Last of the Mohicans. with Daniel
Brilliant
Day-Lewis.
film, man.
It's
Yeah.
one of the greatest movies ever. Like
It's awesome.
Non-horror and just in general for me. It's in my top 10 films of all time.
Mate, I agree, JT.
And I have really good memories with it too, because my father and I used to watch that as when I was a kid. He got me into that,
Yeah.
and it's a
Same.
favorite movie of his. So it's like a father and son like movie that we watched for just ever since I was a kid. But what a
weirdly
brilliant
enough,
fucking
mate.
movie, man.
Weirdly enough, mate, exactly the same with me. It's weird to bring that up.
Yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
crazy though how it's so powerful. Like
Yeah,
movies
it's a great movie
and stuff.
Yeah.
Like how it can have those memories forever. You know.
Yeah.
But the last 20 minutes of that movie is like some of the best. It's one of the best endings in the movie.
Yeah.
Like once they shoot when they take him away from the old Indian chief and they go up the mountain, that whole thing to the end is just perfection. It's like absolutely perfection.
And also, what Daniel Day-Lewis put himself through for that role.
Oh yeah, he was
Have
living
you
in the
looked
woods
into
and
that?
shit and hunting and everything.
Mental.
Oh yeah,
JT, just to interject now, JT. Just before we bring our next guest on, I'm just going to get this out there before he just obliterates my argument about Aliens being one of the greatest films of all time.
Let's bring
somebody who can back up your arguments. I'll bring you Lauren.
Let's bring Lauren on.
What's up, man?
Hey, you all right, man?
What is going on, Lauren?
I might be a little underprepared because I am sober, except if Paxil counts.
It counts. It's Sunday.
It counts. You're fine.
So I got a little bit of extra serotonin, maybe, but that's about it to help me through a debate with two rabid Aliens fans.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a correlation here. We've got like bald.
So
aliens fan.
So
aliens
what
fan,
are you what are you hiding that you need all that hair?
I'm actually going bald. It's starting to recede, but I'm just clinging on to what I've got hold of. I think JT is good for a few more years yet, but
yeah, no, I'm good. I'm getting gray on the sides, but besides
you
that,
guys
I'm
think
good.
so? You think so, but when it starts, it's pretty relentless.
JT, you're lucky. You're going grey. I skipped that. I just went straight from black hair to fucking no hair.
Yeah, it's like,
Literally,
thanks for the positive thing. I'll take that as
I'm going grey. Just here
now.
now. Here's where my grey hair
I get
is.
grey in my beard. Actually, a little bit. Fucking sucks getting all.
So I'm curious, Lorne.
I understand that you are.
Have you heard JT? JT is not an Aliens fan. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I was talking to him while I was watching it.
Yeah, he was texting me while he was watching it.
Oh, God. I've been in those situations where JT is giving us a stream of text. And I was disagreeing. He probably gave you the same. And I was disagreeing with everything he said.
But so it's very interesting though, someone who has not seen the film until now, because we should really value that perspective, because certainly I come from a very tainted well, right, and you come from a rose-colored glasses, so I mean I think we should respect the fact that someone comes from it later in life, and he's not a huge fan of the original Alien, so that puts him in a different class than all of us probably too, right?
I mean, I'd consider Alien a masterpiece of a movie. It's still just not a movie I would throw on often. You know, like that's kind of where it sits.
Yeah,
I'd sit with you with that one. I'd much rather throw at Aliens than Alien.
Yeah, that's insane to me.
I know
that is pure madness, sir.
Yes,
I know. I do apologize. It's just
when I was watching it, and then first of all, the director's cut 2.5 hours. The pacing is terrible throughout. Of decent.
Oh, JT,
no. The pacing is bad.
How is the pacing bad? How is the pacing bad?
If I watch the theatrical cut, I don't know how long that is. I'm guessing maybe 2 hours or something like that. Shy of it.
It's about 7 years long.
Yeah, it seems like
every cell in my body has actually been replaced by the time that movie ends.
Oh, boys!
But
what am I listening to?
The tattoos stay. I don't understand how that logic works, but it works.
But yeah,
why are we bashing Aliens?
As I was
because it's an awful film.
I wouldn't say it's awful. I would say
I need more drink.
Say it's a fun, mindless sequel to have fun with. But
that's just about as dumb as anything written in the 80s. Yeah,
the writing is just not good. Like and
it started
the insaneness in that makes no sense.
And James Cameron started the whole Marvel humor diffusing action beats thing. Like Aliens is that movie.
Yeah.
It really is. There's something that it's a really desperate situation, and someone has to have a wisecrack to relieve the tension for the audience. That's the Marvel thing today. That's where it started, as an Aliens. It's not a coincidence that they actually reference Aliens in that. It's either Endgame or Infinity War. I don't remember which, but
yeah, they're paying homage to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel so sad. Like, my heart
we'll be eventually talking about some other movie that you'll hate.
Okay.
They're not drunk enough for this.
But I was no, they're not. They gotta keep on going.
I'll get there, mate. I'll get there.
I need
heroin. I need heroin.
Mike's going to be on heroin next week. Tune in on Sundays.
Go on, Mike. Stick up for Aliens, mate. Go on.
No. Put it out there. So, I understand. Yes. I understand your point. I understand where Lorne's coming from. I understand where you're coming from, GT.
Yes,
but it's not like this is a film that has gained a slow cult status over the years. You know, it's not like this is a film that's it's like an outlier. This is a film. This is a film that is loved by millions of people. It's always in, like, you know, it's always greatest sci-fi movies of all time. It's always high up. It's not as if it's this like some kind of like Mandela effect where people are imagining something that never happened.
No.
Like Mike, not like that. I don't look at it like that.
Jim Cameron is a brilliant visual storyteller. Okay.
Yeah,
it's the writing 100%. That's the problem. It is a brain dead film. Can any of you explain to me how Burke's plot would have worked?
Well, probably not.
Not at this moment in time.
It makes absolutely no sense and can't work. The moment to get them back to Earth and not have them die of old age, they have to go into the cryotubes, which are medical containers. The idea of impregnating them and getting them back would not work. And if it would work and they'd still be alive, then just take the gift-wrapped aliens that you found in the med bay and put them on the ship. Right? It's all just writing. There's other shit.
And that's Ripley, just like Ripley, one little scene.
Ripley decides to go back after she knows what one of these things does because the plot needs her to do it, right?
Yeah, that's what me and Lauren were talking about.
It's absolutely insane. This is the sorority girl in her underwear who goes into the dark basement because she hears a sound, except far worse. And here's the thing.
I love those films, though.
Good. Would you compare would you say Aliens is one of those movies?
No.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
I promise I'll get there. I promise I'll end this example and I'll get there. So
I love this. I love it.
And then I have
so here's how you fix it though, right? You don't have her go back. You have the Sulaco already en route pick up her shuttle. She's stuck. She's along for the ride. Problem fixed. Character intact. Dramatic beats intact. Logic intact. That's good writing versus what they did. Make her have nightmares. Invent a daughter so that they can replace Jones the cat with an even lamer character. It's just that Jim Cameron has ideas that are visual in his head that he wants to get on screen, and they look great on screen. And no one in the 80s had seen a film that was quite as ferocious for visual overload as Aliens. If you really think about it, besides perhaps Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, what looked as complex as Aliens? And this was for adults. This was an R-rated, violent
film. It's a great looking film.
It's just the plot that's a problem, and people want to defend the plot because they want to love the film. They can't separate one from the other. I'm a plot guy. I'm always going to be a plot guy. I'm also a character guy, and they betrayed Ripley. That's a problem to me. The Ripley of the original film is not in the sequel. Incidentally, she returns for the third film, which is baffling, but she's not in the second film. That's a different character. That is John Rambo with breasts. That's a different character, and you can like that. You can like that, and that's cool, but it betrays the character they created in the first film.
Brilliant. Do you know what? I wish, instead of watching Sick today, I wish I rewatched Aliens, just so I had the mindset for this argument tonight.
Right?
Lundy, we need him in here.
Bet you didn't know this shit was coming.
He's up.
I didn't know.
Okay,
like an ambush.
So I have a point also that I brought up with Lauren. With just they know from Ripley's story of what she says that she saw, and basically all she saw is the face hugger, that's the parasite that and then burst out the chest, and she saw one alien, never got off the spaceship, which Lauren agreed with that and said that, and that's it. So just why not just tell them that story? That's all the information she has. Why send a whole bunch of human soldiers to this planet? We're in the future. Like they've learned how to colonize planets and like space travel. Why not send droids there, or cameras, satellites and stuff? They have actual androids, and we've seen two of them now in Aliens, from the first one and this one. Send a dozen or 2 dozen androids on a spaceship to the planet and survey it out and check out the story. Boom, no human casualties. Like, there's just things like that. It's just that it's not logical. Like, it's something that if I was in that situation, I would not.
Do you know what's really annoying? Do you know what's really annoying about this, Mike? As two people that love this movie, I've got no argument. I've got none. I'm listening to this now, and I'm like, fucking good point. Yeah.
Right. Like,
but
and then if there are,
the thing is, it's like when it comes to movies, you can come from things through like a scientific or intellectual way of looking at things, and then you can come at a movie looking through from the heart, I suppose. And I suppose when you come from a movie like, I suppose, JT, you've come to this movie late on in life. Alone, you were probably analysing
this film. Nostalgia for me.
Saw it in the theater in '86. Yeah.
So I'm not. I know you saw it.
I was a kid, so I was not who I am today. I disliked it then too.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Lorne, could you just like?
No, I'm not going to give you the point. I'm going to make you work for it.
I know. No.
I love it.
So
find more rum.
No. Yeah, exactly. I know where Lorne comes from this. And my arguments. It's not an argument really. It's my thing's always been. No, what I'm going to say is right. So going back to like being a kid and watching.
But I didn't care for the movie.
It speaks to me on an emotional level rather than when I watched it as a kid, I wasn't looking at it through a certain lens. I wasn't looking at certain plot lines, and it would speak to me on an emotional level as being like a 12, 13-year-old kid. Now I get that as you get older. Now, Lorne, obviously you were looking at it probably slightly in a different way to me. You're a little bit older than me as well, and I'm looking at you're more
pure ageism. That's what's going on.
I know,
here.
but Lord,
cancel him.
You're more. I mean, even when you're 14, I can just probably guess you're probably maybe looking at it from through a different lens than I was.
Well, he's a great writer, so he looks at.
Yeah, but I wasn't at 14 or 15 or whatever it was. That's for sure.
Yeah, you didn't like it then either. So I don't.
Well, let me ask Mike though. So I'm a big fan of the films of Lucio Fulci, and they clearly have plot problems, right? I mean, if you view them as anything more than living nightmares, the problem I have with Aliens is
within that reality.
Yeah, right. Aliens builds a very scientifically plausible world on the surface, but then betrays logic. That's where my problem is. If it is wanting to be pure fantasy, I'm not going to argue about the Star Wars movies. How does a lightsaber work? Because it seems to me a lightsaber should be able to go as far as you want to do, and you just swipe the room and you're done, right? But that's not the movie they made. They made a fantasy about laser swords. Okay, I live with that world. The problem with Aliens is, okay, we're gonna talk about terraforming another planet. We're gonna talk about nuclear reactors, and we're gonna steep it in technology, but we're gonna betray basic logic. That's on the writing. The writer tells me how to watch his film, and I watch it that way, and it's insulting.
I think why Aliens works for me is every human in that film works on an emotional level. I think that's where it shines. In terms of like what they do, how they, in terms of like, I like the interaction between the characters. I love the interaction between Ripley and Newt. I know you may have issues with it, but the scene where she gets taken,
period.
I get that.
Newt cannot survive on the planet alone.
I honestly don't even remember most of the characters. That's how much I was not really caring for this.
There are scenes in that movie that I just get, and they just speak to me. Like the scene where she gets taken by the Queen. I'm not sure. I think it was the alien Queen, and Ripley's looking for it. She's got the tracker, and she finds the tracker, and it's lost.
Yeah,
and she thinks all's gone, and then Newt screams, and it's kind of like a realization. Oh, not all is lost, and she doesn't like think. No, oh fuck! She's just like, it's immediate. She's just like, going up on the charge. It's just like she knows what
a mother would do.
I love that. I love that.
I get it, but here's my issue with you, and you're not gonna like this either. Okay.
I'm dreading this.
All the soldiers up to that point that weren't incinerated by a grenade, I'll give you those, right? Why aren't they plastered to the walls over eggs? Why just Newt? Because the plot needs to be that way to have the emotional beat happen for you. Again, bad writing, good writing. It's that simple. Like the aliens do whatever the aliens need to do in a scene to get Jim Cameron to his visual that he's looking for. But it doesn't have any internal logic. It doesn't follow the same rules. And I have a problem with that, especially when people go on to bash the next sequel for supposed lapses in logic, which actually are much less so, and usually based on theories.
Do you think though? I know you love Alien 3, and I like Alien 3. I don't like it, but do you think that the reason Alien 3 is not as loved, it's not so much. I know you. It's all about, I know you look at the plot and how things play out, but with Alien 3, it's not a very likable cast, in my opinion.
No, listen, Alien 3 was never going to appeal to the wide audience that either of the first two films did, because it's a nihilist experience. It is as dark as commercial film can get, and it tells you it's going to be right up front. By killing off two fan favorite characters from the previous movie and resetting everything to the first film, basically. I mean, you could basically say that the fire happens aboard the shuttle and there was an escape tube and make the same movie.
Yeah, they
right? You could erase erase Aliens and get rid of the first act and you're fine.
Yeah.
They intentionally made a much darker, much more sinister film that actually kind of confronts a little bit of the problem of evil. It actually is more, it probably has more in common with The Exorcist than it does the original Alien in a way, even though on the surface level, it's one alien taking out a bunch of isolated people. But it's after bigger fish. It's a more intellectual property. It's darker. The stakes are real. I mean real. More so, because the next film after that, Resurrection, has no stakes because those are all cartoon characters. Right?
Terrible movie.
So you don't care.
Yeah.
Everything about Alien Resurrection should have been awesome, right? You take that plot in your head with that cast, best cast in the series, all squandered by bad writing. That's because the Alien series takes itself so seriously. And it does. Even the fourth film, for all as goofy as it is, it's not its intent to be goofy. It just ended up that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to view it and judge it based on that. This is not a cheap mid-80s slasher, whereas I'm willing to say, okay, the girl in lingerie is going down to the basement because of course she is. In this case, I'm saying the Ellen Ripley that was the smart, had all the ideas of how to survive and barely eked it out in the first film against one alien, does not go back to the planet. She does not go back for Newt when honestly, there's no reason to believe Newt would survive it, because certainly the aliens haven't spared anyone else. The idea that she has a daughter that's never mentioned in the first film is pure contrivance just to get you an emotional reaction. That's cheap writing. I'm judging the film based on what's actually in the film, not how I feel about the film, because I don't have those warm fuzzies that you guys have. And here's the big thing though. I love that you guys love it, because if you guys didn't love it, and if there wasn't a shit ton of you, I wouldn't have gotten the film I love next. I just don't like the fact that that's never reciprocated. It's always, Alien 3 sucks and rah, rah. It's like, okay, it's not your film, but then I'm going to go after your film because you do it to me.
That's how I feel about Blair Witch Project.
Very fair point.
Blair Witch 2. I adore Blair Witch 2. I know you like it too, Lauren. Book of Shadows.
I love Book of Shadows.
Yeah, so do I. I'm trying to get Joe Berlinger on the channel for an interview in hopefully in like the next month or two.
Just confess to a crime you didn't that you just commit a crime, confess to it, then claim later you didn't do it. He'll show up.
Yeah, there you go. That'll work. But you made it. You like, that's how I view Scream. Is that, like you're saying, with like looking at aliens and stuff, and like just taking it like it's taking itself seriously. So you have to hold it to those standards while you're watching it. That's why Scream does not work for me, because it takes itself. There is some, the meta humor, the self-references and stuff like that. There's some humor in there, but it's not like it's not a spoof. It's not a parody like Scary Movie's that parody, but it still takes itself semi-seriously as a slasher film.
Do you think the problem with Scream is it takes itself too seriously at being a parody in a way? If that makes sense.
That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it kind of goes.
Is that it's still trying to be like a serious slasher film,
but it spends so long trying to. It's almost like trying to be too.
So I can't take it seriously.
Yeah,
and I just pick apart all the stupidity and the writing and the decisions, and just everything is so manufactured, because these are all beauty queen, Dawson's Creek, beautiful fucking actors and actresses that were picked just for their looks and shit, and for that particular, that their fame and stuff. And
it's a product of its time, Scream.
Yeah, I know that it is, but what it brought in afterwards just made it worse and worse.
I still stand by my argument that Scream is one of the most influential horror movies of all time.
I agree.
I will co-sign. It's just not a good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
that was my next words.
I would have said, like, in terms of
absolutely.
I've always argued that in terms of like when I say influential, what film is responsible for more films being released in that genre than any other? And I can't go back as far as Lorne probably, but I would say Friday the 13th. I have to say Friday the 13th, because Halloween, in my opinion, Halloween did not kickstart the slasher genre in a way that Friday the 13th did. I could be wrong about that. Scream definitely kickstarted innumerable movies and started new genres, because without Scream kickstart the whole horror genre again. Well, no, in terms of when I say Scream kickstarted, it rebooted the slasher genre, which gave the likes of the Blair Witch Project, which started rebooted the found footage genre, and into other. So
I'd agree with
that. Without Scream, would there have been a Blair Witch Project?
Yes,
maybe.
But there wouldn't have been a Valentine or a
Urban Legend, Halloween H2O with the Wade's written.
Yeah.
So I think Psycho, the original, and the original Friday the 13th, there's two others that deserve to be in the same conversation for being starting waves of slasher films. I would say Night of the Living Dead is one of those films. I would even say Alien is one of those films.
Also for slasher film.
Except that no one in America really gives a crap. Except us.
Yeah, well, yeah. I always look back to Twitch as the most influential film in shaping and molding what would become.
It gave Bava gave the slasher genre its vocabulary to actually really work with. John Carpenter gave it its form. Yeah, yes. I agree with that. Strongly.
I just, Lord, I just want to get your opinion on, the whole, obviously Halloween dropped in 78, so, and it's the most successful, at the time, most successful independent movie of all time, horror film.
Film, period.
We didn't get a slew of slasher films in 79, so I'm just curious to why that never really.
Trap.
Well,
yeah, but if you look at Friday the 13th in 80,
don't go in the house.
So what happens is a little bit different. So independent cinema did not have the inroads in distribution that they have today. They couldn't print 2,000 prints and get them to every theater simultaneously on a weekend. Halloween did that. It was an independent film that didn't go regional. It went national. And because it went national, it had a bunch of partners, and all those theater chains and regional distributors all threw money into promoting it because they saw the product was great and they knew it, and they knew there was money to be made beyond what a small independent could ever do. Before Halloween, an independent film would go to a market with its 25 prints. It would go out to the theaters. It would do what it did for a month, and then it'd move on. Those prints would move on to the next town, per se, usually large metro area. And that's what they were getting. They were getting city theaters. They weren't getting out into the suburbs either. Halloween changed all that. But because it was the first one to change that, no. There wasn't a lot of companies that could do what Halloween did. It was kind of lightning in a bottle, the right product at the right time, with a lot of partners involved. The business side of it mattered. And none of the other indies could really get that. There was other slasher films produced in its wake. But basically, they got released in cities and they disappeared pretty quick. And maybe we're rediscovering them on, some Vinegar Syndrome release now, but they just didn't make the inroads. But the studios all said, there's something here. Halloween did it. We could do this. And they were all looking for that film. Paramount was just the one that found it. They said, Friday 13th, this little independent film, we're getting this from the Hallmark guys. We're putting it national. We're putting it on all the screens. It's going to open all the screens the same day. We're going to give it a big national advertising push. That was the same advertising push. You ever wonder why a lot of those old slasher films have 7 titles? It's because in every city it was marketed completely differently.
Yeah,
but Friday changed everything
into theaters
because you had a major distributor say, we're going to give it a push like a real movie and see what happens. Scream is a different story because Scream was packaged already with all that in place. It didn't have to do any work. And to its credit, there was also a lot of things. Music had changed in the 90s to alternative. Fashion had changed. If you look at television actors of the 70s, take a look at WKRP in Cincinnati and compare it to Dawson's Creek someday. That's all happening. I don't want to use the word zeitgeist, but it's all happening in the culture at large, right? And it was a film that looked like some high school orgasm, and it was marketed. Actually, its initial marketing campaign was awful and didn't work, but the second campaign really worked, and it just hit in a way. I mean, yes, Hot Topics were coming into the malls, right? Shopping malls were a thing. Shopping mall culture. It was just a perfect time. I think if you're going to compare it with Psycho or Friday the 13th, I have issues with its efficacy. I don't think it's a very effective film at all compared to those titans. But yeah, it's hugely influential. But I never wanted my horror films to look like that or feel like that or appeal just to younger people, much younger than I am.
I always remember Scream when it first came out. It wasn't like the instant success people seem to think it was. It was in its first few weeks. It actually got bigger as it went along. It didn't just came out as a massive hit straight away.
Yeah,
I think word of mouth about Scream really kind of generated it to the level that it got to.
It came out in December.
In the box office, it killed in the box office.
It did, but originally when it first got released, if you actually look back at it, I think it came. I could be wrong on this, and I'm just picking numbers out of my head, but I think it came either 3rd or 4th in its weekend, and then gradually it actually started to move as it went along.
It actually was basically re-released like 4 weeks after its initial run, where they put a fresh advertising push, which never happens.
But it worked.
Well,
clearly.
There was enough there that they wanted to keep it alive and give it a second life. And man, there's a lot of films I wish got that opportunity, right?
Yeah, same, mate. Absolutely agree with you. But I also think word of mouth helped it as well.
Yeah, I've always said about Scream. I've always said about Scream, the first Scream movie. It came along at a perfect time in that mobile phones, or cell phones, as you say in the States, had just become a thing. So they were feasible in a movie, but we didn't really have the internet. So you could use them as a plot device, but they couldn't be used in a negative way to just go, oh, you know, in the way like smartphones are so clever now that you can do anything with them. So they used it in a perfect way, because obviously the way they're obviously out somewhere around the house with a mobile device on the phone. She's obviously on like a landline. But if that film had been set 5 years previous, how are they ringing into the house? If that's film set 5-10 years later, it's, you know, it kind of takes away from it.
I can help you there. If it's set about 13 years earlier, it's just When a Stranger Calls open.
Yeah.
Scream is not that creative a film. It borrows all of its beats from other films. It looked great, and that's kind of what we're talking about with Aliens too. Like, if you can win people over visually, that's 90% of the battle for most people, and that's cool. If you're enjoying it for those reasons, you're getting a thrill out of it, I'm not going to criticize you. I'd rather happy people offend me a lot less than miserable people. So if you love this thing and it makes you happy, I'm glad it's out there. I'm not going to join your party. I never need to see another Scream film or any of the existing ones ever again, though. I'm not going to go see the new one. It's just whatever. I don't need that.
Not your thing, no.
No, and why would I do that? Why would I put myself through things I'm not going to like when I'm finding so much that I do with a little more digging? You know?
Yeah, true. I respect that.
Anthony says, "Give me a film with no cell phones any day." Have you seen Cyclone?
Why would I do that?
No, okay, no, but the one thing they do in that movie, which is it's sensible, is though the first thing it's killers. Okay, spoiler alert. I don't give a fuck.
Wow, Kevin Williamson really went out of his comfort zone for that one, huh?
Okay, so but what's the first thing they do? Slash the tires and take the cell phones. There is no landline, because apparently no modern buildings have landlines. So, yeah, but at least they acknowledge the danger of modern technology, you know. So it's like at least they acknowledge it, and so because you've said before yourself on a few streams, it's like you have to develop a way of making a movie where, you know, you have to make it where it's cell phones are no longer relevant, if that makes sense. You know, it's like you have to put the victim in a position where cell phones are not going to be any use anyway. So I mean, you're talking about a situation where in this movie they're obviously in a secluded location, but then you immediately take the cell phones, slash the tires.
I get it, and slashing the tires is always good, and it's a long practice trope in monster movies, period, basically. But the cell phone thing just annoys me because you're forcing one of two things to happen. If you want to write a film the same way you did in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, you're forcing the scene where the one guy comes around with a bag and says, "Everyone put their phone in the bag," which is so lame. Or you have a character wander around going, "I can't get signal."
I'm like Mike.
And either one is just hackneyed and old and boring and trite.
Yeah, why can't I hear you guys? That's weird. I'm having internet issues right now.
But I think it's just telling a generation of writers and filmmakers is that we have to have the threats be things that can't be fixed by the cell phone call at all. It's not a matter of eliminating the phone call. It's telling you that we're beyond that. It's time to move on. We have those films, and if you like those films, want to revisit that time, we have more than enough of them.
Now,
we can hear you, mate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, I mean, like, going I'm curious about, like, you know, Dave and Lorne, obviously, you know, like, going forward, if we're gonna set movies in the modern world, and as obviously modern technology becomes just as advanced as it is going to be, we're going to get to a point where is it going to be like increasingly difficult to create tension I mean, I honestly, you know what though? I haven't said that. When I mentioned this a while ago, and Lord, you mentioned about like there's areas of the US where there's no phone signal or anything, and like literally, I've been in a pub in the middle of Liverpool where nobody could get a fucking phone. Nobody, people on different phone services couldn't get a signal, and this is in the middle of a fucking city. So I think I've just answered my own question there, because if we're going to put...
Yeah, but you're still leaving yourself up to that scene, that hackneyed, trite scene of everyone going, can anyone get a signal? No, I don't get a signal.
It's
tiring.
It's becoming a bit repetitive now. Yeah. Everybody does the whole arm in the air.
So what I'm saying is, I'm going to take a film, like, I'm going to take an example of something I actually don't like, but I think you guys do, because I think it'll be more a fair pool. The meteor sequence, the lonely death of Geordie from Creepshow.
Yeah.
Does a cell phone help him?
No.
It changes the story a little bit, but does it help him? No. Right? Zombie apocalypse. Does a cell phone really help you? I mean, the cops are dealing with the cities. They're dealing with... So it's the slasher genre subgenre in particular is affected massively by the cell phone problem. But you know what? If Godzilla is stomping on your city, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Fuck off, JT. That was my joke.
No, I got it first.
You just beat me to it.
So, I mean, what it's telling us is that the slasher thing has to either evolve into a place, or its time has just come, because we're not afraid of that type of like violation anymore. It's just how it is. We've innovated through our fear in the real world, and it doesn't leave a lot of dramatic promise.
We've got Piz in the chat. Piz, if you want to jump on, man.
I'm not sure where you guys were left off at.
Do you know what, mate? You're far too articulate and intelligent for this stream tonight. But thank you for jumping in.
I could take a lot more packs if it'll help.
Listen. I've had 3 years. I've had 3 years of Lorne's articulate. Oh, I can't even say the word.
He's had enough of it, is what he's saying. He's about to kick me off.
No, but you know what, mate? You've made some fantastic points tonight. You've actually made me think as well, because I'm a big fan of Aliens as well. Just jumping back to that, but you make it.
It's still amazing, Dave.
Oh no, it is.
Don't turn to the dark side.
No, I won't. I enjoy the movie, and I will always enjoy the movie for whatever faults it may have. But you raise a great argument on your side, mate, and I can only respect that. And at the end of the day, everyone has opinions. Everything's subjective, you know. And I respect that, and I always say that no one's right, no one's wrong. But you've really made me think. I've got to be honest with you. You really have.
And I wish that's what I want really us to do as a community. Yeah. That's what I've pushed the whole time. Is like, the reason I like unpopular opinions is because someone had a thought that the rest of us didn't. Yeah. Now, maybe that thought is dead wrong, but we'll find that out if we actually talk about those differences.
Yeah, of course.
But if everyone just gets in line and talks about all the shit that we're all supposed to love, or all the films that we're supposed to hate. Blair Witch 2, we're not supposed to like it, right? Well, why do some of us really love the film? Well, I think that's a discussion that's a lot more valuable than talking once again about why Halloween 78 is a great film.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
I think we all know why that film appeals to most people, but let's go for the stuff that is a little less obvious. I think it will help. I don't mean to take anyone's enjoyment away from them of something like Aliens or Scream.
Yeah.
I just want people to be able to like really look at what they're consuming and find out what they really love about it through my criticisms, right?
Yeah, I respect that because like me and JT spoke about Blair Witch 2, didn't we? Book of Shadows.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of the movie, and you are, but it was interesting to hear why you love it, and I can actually respect that. And go, I get it. Yeah,
that's the reason we all do this.
Absolutely.
Film and shit, and it's great to be able to
respect each other's opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
we're not like the Halloween people that are biting each other's fucking dicks off over their opinions.
Yeah,
I will say as well, just why Piz is in the chat, because obviously opinions are subjective, and I just want Lorne to know, because obviously opinions are subjective. Friday the 13th Part 5 is fucking amazing.
I do love Part 5.
I think it is important that Hollywood make films for people who are developmentally disabled. So
Piz, you can apply.
If your development was arrested when you were 13, I get it. But the internet provides you with better examples of everything that's in that film in a less than 2-minute clip without a subscription fee, and you'll be fine. I promise.
I love you, man. I love you.
If you're still there, click the link, Piz, and just come and rip, because you've got to rebuke. This is a direct attack on you, Piz. You do realize what Lorne is doing here.
I will.
Did I say the words Friday 13th Part 5 until you said
you didn't. But...
This was not an attack. I defended myself.
I will say this about Part 5. When I revisited the Friday the 13th series to do my reviews, I hated Part 5 when I first watched it years ago. Really did not like it at all. And I was dreading watching it again. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. Like, I did. I just, yeah. I found
you're correct. You are correct. The joke was in poor taste. Friday 13th Part 5 is far worse than anyone with any limitations.
Yeah, and that's what's a great thing too about just being able to discuss film like this and stuff, because there's movies that I think all of us look at from, like, I mean, me and Lauren have been agreeing on most of the shit we've been talking about, but I disagree about Friday 5 completely. I adore that movie. But
I don't adore it. I like it, but I don't think it's. I don't adore it.
You can think it's like it. You can like it. I adore it.
I like it. I like it.
That's the great thing, is that there's always, depending on who we are individually and how we like to view things, or the mind states we're in while viewing things and consuming any type of art, that we can see past certain things for movies that we just love certain things about. And then other films we can just critique a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really cool thing that there's a balance of that we get to experience that individually as we watch movies, our whole life, study film.
And what I appreciate, I agree with you, mate. And what I appreciate about our community is, like, the likes of us, is we can all have different, opinions about what we like and what we don't like, and we can share that. And it's respectful. And I think that's what people have to, like, you know what I mean? When you're in this community, you've got to respect people's opinion.
Nah, fuck that. You're wrong.
It sounds.
And I respect Lorne's opinion to say that.
You're making me drink more. But it's cool, man. I love the community and that we can talk about this, and like it doesn't matter that you're pissed all over aliens. I still love you.
Perfect example right here for me. Armageddon. It's probably in my top 30 films of all time. I know it's insane. I know it's ridiculous. I know it's just a crazy Michael Bay movie.
Bruce Willis
It's just something about it that just works for me in every way, that I can look past how insane the plot is and the logic behind all of it. It just has a special place in my heart for some reason.
Well, that's okay, because Lorne's got Jason X in his top 20, so...
Oh, I sure do.
Yes, my man! Brilliant! I love that.
It's such a fun film.
Again, I judge movies based on what they ask me of me, what they tell me how to watch them. Jason X told you very early on, we're just gonna have fun, guys. Get the popcorn out.
I have a good. I mean, Jason Goes to Hell for me is just too much. I
hate that movie.
Get on board with that film. I do. No. Jason Goes to Hell is. I enjoy it. Jason Goes to Hell to me is just. It's no. I can't be doing that film.
Jason Goes to Hell, especially on when I covered the whole series months ago, and I never cared for it really. It's a terrible Friday the 13th movie. Like, absolutely. But if they took out all the few 3 minutes, not even, of Jason in the movie, and anything to do with Jason the Voorhees name, it's a pretty not bad body horror movie. Like, there's some good effects in there. There's some crazy looking practical effects in there. It's a decent body horror movie. It's not great by any means, but it's enjoyable.
It's a Friday the 13th movie. That's the problem.
Well, I know, but it's a terrible.
Yeah.
If you took that out and just left in there, it's not bad for a body horror.
I think it just has the unfortunate reality was that series was dead in the water. Everyone was pushing to figure out if they could salvage it in any way, and that was the Hail Mary pass. I don't dislike the film. I think it's a mess, but I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
But as a Friday 13th, if you want a traditional Friday 13th film, you're in trouble with it. There's no question about it.
So,
it's a terrible Friday.
So obviously, New Line bought the rights to Jason.
Yeah.
Or the Friday.
It's
Jason Voorhees and not Friday the 13th.
They bought the right to make new derivative films from the original source material. They only had the obvious. So, in other words, New Line couldn't have just gone back and added Tommy Jarvis to a film.
Yeah,
that's Paramount's. It doesn't come from the source. They couldn't have done it. But the concept of Jason as an adult killing in a hockey mask, they were good.
But
and that's pretty much all they needed.
What year did they buy the rights to? Because they put the film at 93. How much time did they have? Did they just immediately just throw a film out, or did they have
didn't they start with New Line with 7?
Well, so no. So what happened is basically all the rights to the core material was still held by by Horror Inc., which was the what became of Hallmark Distributing, right? So they still owned all the core rights, and when Paramount had made it clear that they weren't making more films, they looked for a new partner to license new works from. There were some things that had to be worked out as far as Paramount, but in reality, it wasn't like they took anything from Paramount. They just let it lapse and let it be clear that Paramount was not interested in renewing, and they were able to resell it, the distribution rights to new derivative properties to New Line. But there was a lot of sticky points, and the law was not as certain. There wasn't as many lawsuits as Bedrock Foundation. So if you look at Jason Goes to Hell, tries exceptionally hard not to step on the toes of anything that came before it. They knew they were okay with Jason. They knew, but they weren't even sure about the Friday 13th title. It was not terribly clear. It turns out it was fine. And they could have just called it Friday 13th Part 9. But at the time, they weren't terribly sure. And from a marketing standpoint, they didn't know if they would want it to, because the last 2 films had underperformed pretty massively, which is something we really don't discuss. They'd been shrinking since Part 6's gross, but 7 and 8 really underperformed to the expectations for Paramount. So they didn't know if even titling it Friday 13th Part 9 was even desirable. But the legal rights were not terribly clear. They weren't going to hire lawyers to figure them out. They made a film that steered clear of all that. And in doing so, they pissed off pretty much the whole fan base for a couple of years before people started to come at it as a cult favorite on its own, which is, I think, where it's at now. There's things I like about it. There's things I don't like about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll go further back.
Decent.
Go further back.
Film.
Sorry, I'm going to stay. Yeah, staying on the Friday the 13th topic. I think I've asked you this before, but I forget. So after final chapter.
Yes.
Obviously, diminishing returns by Part 4. I'm assuming.
No. 6 right?
5 was actually in many ways. 4 is already like 3 is the peak with everything. But 4 was what they projected. 5 they got what they projected too, but they had a problem, which was that the cards and the legs on the film were nothing. So that's why they had to bring Jason back, because they knew they needed something that was going to endure.
So Part 4 is 84. And they called it the final chapter, so they obviously went with the intention this is the last film.
Yeah, maybe they did.
Now I know the Paramount hated the franchise. They looked at it with disgust. You know, they going by this Crystal Lake Chronicle, Crystal Lake.
So
they never seem to treat it with any respect.
Well, so what's the plural of person? People. What's the big? But the bigger one is company, right?
Yeah.
So. There was people.
They looked down the nose at the franchise.
There was people in Paramount that hated these movies.
Yeah.
And then there was people more on the financial side of the company that loved these
money,
movies.
Man. Yeah.
And the balance was they needed to put a portfolio together to their investors every year that was reliable. And Friday the 13th was reliable.
Yeah.
So they might not have been happy they were releasing it.
Made the
but
money.
They weren't going to turn down the opportunity as long as they were making money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So with 4,
basically,
so with 4, they called it the final chapter. So 5 came out 12 months later.
Yeah.
So at some point between the end 4 being released, they must have thought, "Oh, hang on a minute. Was it always was it a decision pre-planned to call it the final chapter, knowing that they were going to bring it back?"
So they with the third film, they already felt they needed a gimmick to sell the movie, right? And that was 3D.
Yeah.
And they saw what they got out of that boost. But how do you follow up a 3D horror film at the height of the 3D boom when the 3D boom was already crashing less than 6 months later? You can't just do another 3D Friday the 13th, right? Yeah, what do you do? How do you get more people in there? You talk about it being the last one. Yeah, this is your last, and the ads literally said this is your last opportunity.
Yeah.
I actually my trade poster back there, as opposed to the theatrical poster, has the original byline on it, which is 3 times before you have felt the terror, known the madness, lived the horror, but this is the one you've been screaming for.
That's cool.
It's the last film. Yeah. That was the whole point. But they had a problem. Even in testing the film, they knew that it worked.
Yeah.
And it came out, it was number 1 at the box office. It was number 1 at the box office for an R-rated film in 84, which is this year when all this family-friendly entertainment is hidden like no business. You gonna turn down the paycheck? Have any of us at our jobs ever said, "Hey, I made a lot of money this week. I think I'm not gonna show up next week"?
Nah.
There's bills to be paid, right, babe?
That's right, mate.
So, I mean, I think it took us. I think there was a plan already in place. If this did really well, we'll just do something new. We'll do another one, whatever. It got real serious the weekend of release, though. Real serious.
Yeah.
I was there. I saw it. I saw it actually in its second week when it came to the Washington Twin Cinema in Washington, New Jersey, now closed, by the way. And people were excited for this movie. Like I remember I was a kid online with my grandmother, my sister, and people were buzzing, talking about how, hey, the second film was just on television the other week, and people are, I haven't seen the third film, but what happened in it? How much of a joke is that, right? A bunch of kids went in the woods and died, but very exciting. I remember like the film started, the hush in the theater was something that was not usual in the 80s. People used to make noise in the movies in the 80s. They were into the experience. And that film, like when the movie lights went down, trailers were done, hush. People cared. People loved where cinema was at. It was a really magical time for that franchise and that moment. And I'd say it never really got better for the franchise.
It's my favorite slasher film of all time. Friday 4.
It's in my top 25. It's not my favorite slasher. There's one above it. There's 2 above it, actually, including the first film in that series. But
and Hellfest.
Hellfest is in top 5 for me.
Yeah, I love it. I love Hellfest.
I think more people are. I keep reading more people coming aboard finally.
I need to watch Hellfest. It's on my list.
It's quality. I'd wait till October.
The rest.
Watch it Halloween.
That was good, like the rest, and the sequel. Sequel, not too much. The first one was good though.
So, but the Friday series was always doomed at Paramount though, because if you look at the 80s, the moment horror comedy took over, the Friday the 13th films could not go there. And I know people get upset when I say this, but the Nightmare on Elm Street series and the Chucky series, they are horror comedies after a certain point.
No, they are.
And I know people get upset, but it is what they are. There was no place on the market for Jason to be comedic, so it was doomed.
I mean, part 6 kind of had that a little bit, but Jason wasn't the joke.
Right. Jason was well. You can't do it with the character, right? Not just because he doesn't speak, because it's like Art the Clown doesn't really speak, and he's comedic, right? But you couldn't do it. There was something about the stalwart character there. And people always argue with me, well, then how come the fourth Halloween comes out and that gets accepted? It is a big hit. Well, first of all, you're talking about the OG, right? And second of all, you're talking about there hadn't been one for a while. So the pent-up demand was there. But look what happens. The fifth film comes out, no one gives a shit. The sixth film comes out, no one really gives a shit.
Yeah.
It was until there was enough gap there, and then H2O comes out, bring back Jamie Lee Curtis. Again, that's the equivalent. Bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis for H2O was the equivalent of subtitling Friday the 13th Part 4 of the final chapter.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but I will go back to something like we were saying before. Well, Mike was saying before. I actually feel like if Scream wasn't the success that it was, I don't think we would have had Halloween H2O.
No, we wouldn't have.
We wouldn't have had it.
I'd be fine with it.
I mean, I know we did last summer. There's a certainty you wouldn't get that.
Yeah.
As much as I don't care for H2O, there are a decent amount of good things I like about it. I really like how they portray Laurie's.
It's actually Laurie because it's actually Laurie. Yeah,
exactly. Not like this last trilogy that like the way they handle her trauma and stuff like is fucking atrocious.
I agree.
They handled it great with seeing Michael in the reflection and just pretty much an alcoholic. All of that, her trauma was handled so well in H2O.
Did you watch Ends? Did you watch Halloween Kills? Sorry. Did you watch Kills?
Oh yeah, I watched Kills.
Yeah, so the thing is that because you haven't seen Ends,
I have not, and that's not changing.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing I've brought up, and I know JT's brought up, and I know you brought up, Dave, which a lot of people, I'm so anti, like Halloween Ends in a way that the way they've handled Laurie, and the people who defend the film, fair play, but at the beginning of Halloween 2018, obviously you've seen 2018, Lorne, you know. Yeah, so
I think I saw that film before I saw that film.
Yeah, so basically, and I feel like a broken record because I keep on bringing this up, but I've not mentioned this to you. Well, maybe not in this stream, maybe on Piz's stream, but you know, this idea that Laurie is like Michael's been locked up for 40 years. He's never escaped. He was caught on the night. He killed 3 girls, or you know, and like 2 girls and the other guy.
He kills a guy on the highway. I think his body count is like 7 total if you really look at it, but whatever.
But in terms of who's close to Laurie, it's like the 3 friends, you know. Okay, it's not an ideal situation. It's a bad situation, but he was caught on the night. He spent 40 years in prison, and she's living this sort of like PTSD life where she's like a prepper. She's trained in guns. She's got this like place on the outskirts of Haddonfield where she's preparing him to escape, but she apparently she knows is going to happen. Based on what, I don't know, because he's just a normal guy now. He's not supernatural in any way. He's no longer a brother.
Well, at this point,
and then
I think making Laurie and Michael brothers.
So she's in that situation. He does break out. She's proven right. So he does break out. Goes on a rampage, kills her own daughter, kills a bunch of people, escapes, is on the run. And at the beginning of Halloween Ends, he's on the run. Her daughter's been murdered. He's killed about 20 people in the town. And she's all like happy as Larry. Just like nice little chat to the grocery store, you know, flirting with the cop. And
because they need her to play the badass.
What happens to it's totally. I know Piz mentioned this. He said it's totally reversed. She should have been like this at the beginning of 2018.
In the first Halloween. Yeah. Halloween 2018 to me.
Yeah. It's
absolutely
crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's funny that you're making that argument because that's exactly the aliens problem. But anyway.
We've stopped talking about aliens now.
Sorry. No. But you want to know why Jamie Lee Curtis needed to be Laurie. I don't like calling it Laurie because it's not Laurie to me. Laurie's a character from my youth I saw in film in 2 movies. And then, you know, as a 20-something or maybe I guess I was in my late 20s when H2O came out. Laurie, they wanted that image in the trailer of Laurie taking the pistol, shooting at the target. Bam! Because that got all the normies out there to go, that's what I want to see. I want to see Michael Myers get shot in the head by this bitch.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted. and that's what determined who that character was for that movie. I have no idea why they made the decision on Ends, and I haven't spoken about Ends really very much because I haven't seen it. I assume I'm not going to like it. The opinions that I tend to revere tend to tell me not to. But yeah, so that's the wrong way to make a movie. You don't make a movie to be aspirational. Well, we're going to make Laurie Strode into not just a survivor, but now she kicks ass. And I'm sorry to do this again, but Ripley's a survivor, right? She shouldn't be Rambo. The same thing's true of Laurie. There's a reason these archetypes are the way they are. Laurie and Ripley are both the smartest person in their circle. That's why they survive. It's not about being a badass. They're smart. They're brave, sure, but it's their brains that win. And to undercut that by just putting a big gun in both of those characters' hands, it's cheap, it's stupid, it doesn't resonate with me. It resonates with people who want that macho, like, hey, I'm going to fetishize the girl with the gun thing. By the way, I don't have a problem with girls with guns. You just make that character that way to begin with, and I'm fine, because I actually think, like, if we're talking about Lilu from Fifth Element, love the character, right?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, Halloween should never have been really a franchise. I know people hate me for saying that, but the first film is it has one problem, and that's how does Michael know how to drive? The rest of the movie is problem free, right? Yeah. The second film I like for being
somebody taught him, apparently.
Well, how does that work?
Why? Why would they?
But
I'm going to go on what the psychiatrist says on the
Dr. Wynn is like, oh, maybe someone around.
Yeah.
Whenever you break out, I've taught you how to drive away now. It just doesn't make sense.
Not only that, I mean, he actually not only knows how to drive, but he apparently has internal GPS to figure out how to get the 50 miles back to from Smithsboro to Haddonfield. But I'm willing to overlook all that because it has kind of a dream quality to it. It feels like a nightmare, right? It feels like a story told around a campfire, or an urban legend. You always heard the stories as a kid, like the man with the hook, right?
It's the boogeyman thing, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, and that's what the whole film is. Loomis spends the whole film telling everyone this guy is the boogeyman. He's not real. He's and everyone says, you're nuts. It's just an escaped guy. No problem. We got him. And at the end of the film, when he's not on the ground, Loomis is right. That's the whole point of the movie. The problem is, what do you do with that as a franchise? Well, we see what they have, and at this point, there's a lot more films in the series that I don't like than do like.
Yeah, true. Me too.
And that's troubling, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
in my top 3 films of all time, and the franchise, I think, is a terrible franchise. Like consistency wise, like 100%. Like I love Door 3. I like 4 a decent amount.
I really love 3.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm actually kind of okay with the fact that we're never going to get a Hellfest 2 or a Hellfest prequel.
Yeah. Why explain?
Like, it's beautiful the way it is. And it has a similar sort of ending, which recontextualizes the film. What do you do then? Now, I'm sure there is something cool that could be done because great writing can do anything. I always say that. I just don't trust Hollywood to catch lightning in a bottle twice. So let's do something different. And maybe we'll get another. It's funny. Game Over came out the next year, and that's also one of my favorite slasher films of all time.
I've never seen Game Over. Something.
Excuse me?
I've never seen Game Over.
Yeah, we need to change that, but postage is expensive to you.
Okay.
But you should send me your address because I'll figure it out. But
and send one to me as well, mate, if you want. Okay. I haven't seen it neither.
All you fucking Europeans need to get closer. That's all.
Right.
I'll tell you what. Come over to me and I'll hand it off to you.
And
we'll come to you, mate.
To get a film over to them for them to see it.
Mike, do you fancy a holiday to America, mate?
Yeah, well, head over to Jersey in New York.
Wow, they're gonna come over and sing some Supertramp for us.
You guys,
absolutely.
My East Coast accent is on fucking point, man. I've seen enough mafia movies.
Just take me.
No. Listen.
Oh my God.
Listen to my JT.
You're losing us, Mike. You're losing us.
Listen to my JT accent.
Go.
I don't like Scream as a stupid movie. I don't like it.
What is that?
I thought that was New York.
That's awful.
It's terrible, isn't it?
That's as bad as my British.
Listen.
Right.
Hey, no, whoa, I got it. It's not British. Can we just get
Listen,
away
mate,
from
you
this
need to start understanding the film.
Hang on. Can we just get away from this? Look, I'm prepared to acknowledge. Right. Listen, I'm prepared to acknowledge variations in American accents. I can go from New York over to the West Coast. I can't do that.
I don't know any New Yorkers that speak that way.
New York.
Okay.
It's like so you're doing like the mafia New York thing, where it's down here at the back of the throat, right?
But Lord,
and then you go over to Jersey, it's a little bit different because we got the draw.
Yeah, but
it's a little bit southern that's in there.
Lord,
you're
doing.
We
don't talk that way.
Yeah, but Lorne, you're trying to do a generic Cockney accent. We're from the north. We don't sound anything like that.
No.
Yeah, and that didn't sound a thing like New York either, bud.
I know.
Yeah.
That sounded like something that would be on a cartoon.
Okay.
JT, right.
I thought that was quite good.
Now that Mike has tried to do your accent, please try to do a Scouse accent. Can you do a Scouse accent, JT?
Do it. Do Liverpool.
Not a chance.
See, at least I tried.
You just gotta talk like that, mate. You know what I mean? You just gotta say, "I love the fucking Beatles." You know.
I love the fucking Beatles, man. You just talk like
that.
That's
it.
And wait, you need to spit a little bit at the all the sounds.
That's it. Fucking give me Chinese.
JT, that was perfect, mate. Perfect.
It was kind of like how the Beatles used to talk, actually. A little.
Yeah. You actually sounded more Scouse than what me and Mike did.
Yeah.
The Beatles are my all-time favorite band.
Do you know what? Axe, you know what? You're American.
Is my top artist of all time.
Do you know what?
Wait, who'd you say?
Frank Zappa.
Oh, okay. I can respect that. If you're gonna come out with Fish, we're gonna have the argument right here on the air, and that was bad.
He doesn't like Fish.
Not at all.
No, do you know what? Do you know what American accent gets great on me? Oh my God. I talk like that, raise my voice at the every it's like Valley, is it Valley Girl? Like that Valley Girl accent, is it called?
Yeah.
Like Californian. Is that not it? You know what I mean? No, it's like those, it's like that. Oh my God.
Valley Girl.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hate that.
Megan. Did you see Megan, Dave?
No, no, I didn't. I watched Sick, which I wish I didn't bother. I've got to be honest. And then I watched the first episode of Thelma.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got not really so big to see that. Check it out. I think
shockingly bad.
It's awful. Like it's just awful.
Then I'm not checking that shit out ever.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, Lawrence
that was kind of a backwards compliment, though, because mine was awful, so you were slightly less awful.
Lauren, did you have no interest in seeing Megan, or did you see it? Or
you know, it takes a lot to get me to go see a Blum film.
It was okay, you know. It wasn't that bad.
I've torrented it the first day when it released in theaters. And I just actually enjoying it for like the first half, maybe even like first two acts. But like then it just kind of nosedived and just got like over the top and ridiculous where it didn't have to go that way. Like it was a lot more grounded and it was pretty creepy. Like it's a cool looking android and stuff. There's some good stuff in there. There's some great performances in there. But it's not a great movie. Like
by the way, JT will be interviewing the actress who played Megan as well.
Yes, I will have
Yes.
Megan on my channel on the 31st. Yeah. Time still to be figured out.
Yeah. No sex bots in the chat, please. No sex bots in the chat.
Oh, you gotta have the sex bots. They're the best.
She's 12 years old.
Listen, man, I don't think I'll be around. I'll be asleep or whatever.
All right. They're in New Zealand. It's like 16 hours fucking ahead.
Oh, is she from New Zealand? Is she?
Yeah, apparently so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually, you know what? It did play on a few. I tell you what, the aliens trope, I don't say it's a trope, but the aliens homage with the whole Bruce. With if you've seen it, you'll you know what I mean. But that I quite like that. And I will say one thing about Megan, which also applies to Sick. What would you say is the most overused trope in horror movies? And I don't even know if you could class it as a trope, but I think you class it as a trope.
I don't know if it's in either film. I don't know if it's in either film. My biggest pet peeve trope ever is when the writer can't figure out how to get some exposition out, so they have a character go on the friggin' internet and do a search for it. And you come up. They come up with some article or some like fringe website that explains the entire plot to them, and that way we don't have to do any work. I hate that shit.
I don't know if this is classed as a
with
trope.
like news position, not like the TV, fucking giving exposition, just not for radio.
If I was a writer, I would use that
information.
And you shouldn't. Okay. You really shouldn't.
That's okay. I'm not a writer.
Okay, if I've got the definition of a trope wrong, forgive me, but something that is used in practically every horror film over the last 50 years. If you want to signal the end of a movie, simply bring in sirens, police sirens, ambulance sirens. It's at the end of Sick. It's the end of Megan. It's used in. It's like a signal that the film's ended now. The final jump scare has happened in most cases.
Halloween 2018.
The sirens are here now. Yeah, the sirens are here now. Here come the police. Here come the ambulance. Here come the fire service. It's used over again.
Nearly every Friday the 13th movie at the end. Every single one.
It's not even horror movie. It's just any suspense movie. It's just.
Can I get all writing geek on you because you like open that door?
Yeah, please do, man. Go on.
So the reason that exists is because you use slashers as an example, so I'll use that, even though I could go wider. Is that the whole point of a slasher film is to isolate characters and then pick them off one by one. How do you signal that you're no longer isolated? You bring in the authority figures. You bring in the adults, basically.
Yeah.
So that it's closing off that chapter of isolation. But it's you're right. It's long outlived its welcome, and it's also telling you, like, whenever you feel Mike about this stuff, when you feel like you're tired of seeing something over and over, it's because the fears that are overcome in the films are no longer connecting with you on a personal level. The slasher film was based on that whole rise of suburban crime, like real violent crime in the 70s in America.
Having people in your house and your
right. Well, because before that, the nuclear family never had to really worry about someone wandering into the neighborhood. It was the concept from a nice suburban house perspective. By the time you get to the 90s, you start having home invasion movies, which tells you where people's fears have turned that to. But then we have this nostalgia wave that tries to take it back to where it was in the 70s, but we no longer live in that world. We live in a surveillance state. There's so many ways that doesn't happen. Cell phones are one of them. You can't see it because it's black on black. But it's telling us we need to go and figure out what we're actually afraid of. And it's not the guy in the mask game. But the reason they always were just guys in plain white masks that seem faceless is so they could be anyone, right? That's why it works for you. That's why if you ever seen any of those slasher films that just has a regular guy who doesn't wear a mask, there was never a long-running franchise of those movies, right?
Yeah.
Because it's limiting. You're saying that guy's responsible. If it's a blank face, then anyone could be involved.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that relieving the tension by giving you the security figures, right? Which is why the original Friday the 13th works so well, because the cops show up, we get that scene, but what do Sean Cunningham, Victor Miller do? They rob you of it. Alice rises from the canoe slowly, takes her hand out of the water, looks. She doesn't smile, but you get the impression we're okay. The music has that slowed down country and western, like peaceful vibe. Yeah, and like we get Jason coming out of the water.
Yeah.
People underestimate why that scene works. It's because we restored normalcy that we expect, and then we jaggedly just rip it out from under you. That's the brilliance. That's also why when we go to the hospital, right? We have to turn her over. everything's normal. Like that's the kind of stuff that happens in hospitals. She's going to be okay. She's with the people. There's a doctor and a cop in the room with her. She can't be more safe than this moment, right?
Yeah.
And then he's still there. Yeah. And we go back to that lake. It's like the filmmakers are saying, "Are you safe? We just fucked with you once. Are you safe?"
Yeah.
That's why it works. That's why it's a better jump scare than Carrie's ending, which it was trying to rob, and it did a better job of.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would agree with that.
What was the origin of that the jump scare you get in the end of part 1, Friday, and part 2? Like, where do the origins lie in those sort of like final scene jump scares in movies? Like where does it have its roots? Because I'm trying to think back to like when that became a thing, really.
Well, I mean,
that's a really good question, to be honest.
I mean, a lot of people point to Carrie.
Yeah, I would
think say that it wasn't even that long ago, really. It's
no, but think about this. We all grew up hearing urban legends. Your friends would talk, and you'd hear the story of the woman who bought the wig with the spider eggs, or the coat with the snake eggs in the pocket, or something, right? Or of course the story of the hook man with the hook. The vanishing hitchhiker is a famous one, and all those kind of have that effect at the end, right? There's always some big scare punchline to them, and I think at a certain point, film just realized there was an opportunity to borrow that technique, that oral technique. There's some things, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, the jump scare at the end of Carrie never worked because it was so out of tone with the rest of the movie. I'm like, what are we watching now?
Yeah, that never really.
It never made me jump, neither. It didn't make never. When I first watched it and I saw the hand come out, I just went, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's sad because the rest of the movie works so well in that scene.
The film is brilliant. Like, I'm not taking it's. No, I'm not saying it isn't, but the ending of Friday the 13th, when I was a young kid. So I watched Carrie, saw that end scene, didn't bother me. But the ending of Friday the 13th, that creeped me out.
The music is totally off, totally.
It makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
But again, there's something really clever there, too. The song Sail On Tiny Sparrow is actually the song that's playing in the restaurant that Annie visits at the beginning of the movie. It's being played at full speed. So again, she's out in society. We're surrounded by people. At this point, that character is safe. Now we know what happens to that character, right? Yeah. So we have a slowed down, higher. It's in a major key. It's happy. It's bright. It's hopeful. We've heard it before in a better situation. There's cops on the shore. We're ready to rock and roll. Happy ending, right, guys?
Happy.
That's why, people, when I see, especially mainstream critics, dump on Friday the 13th as lowest common denominator horror, I disagree. I think there's a lot more thought and attention, whether intentional or not, which is probably the irony here. But there's a lot more there than people give it credit for.
Yeah,
Mrs. Voorhees is also a better character than Jason. I know people don't like that. Jason is a great physical character. Mrs. Voorhees actually is pretty awesome. Well, no, think of it. Hear me out.
No. I will happily hear you out, sir.
So what we do in Friday the 13th is we take all these the college age kids, barely more than adolescents, right? We isolate them. We take the only adult and send them to town for some reason, right? They're there on their own. An adult finally shows up. Think about her motivation. The victimization of children. There are a bunch of children in the woods, literally. It's this perfect misdirect to get us there. And you feel from the moment she shows up, you know something's wrong with this whole situation. It's not going to be this easy. She's not salvation. But it's a perfect misdirection because, again, like the parents, the adult figures, the authority figures are all the salvation. And at first glance, that's what Mrs. Voorhees should be. But we know it's wrong because we're just being introduced to her too late. So we feel it's off.
I get it. I always had a little problem with that with the movie, though. The fact that she's literally just introduced near the end of the film. I always feel like we should have been introduced to her like a little bit earlier on. Do you understand what I mean?
I do. I think what you lose, the film is very naturalistic in its point of view.
Yeah.
It is, the film starts from Annie's point of view, and after she's murdered, the film switches pretty quickly because you get the other kids showing up, and Alice is already at the camp. But the film is really from Alice's point of view, and there's a lot of reasons that it is. Whether it's her discovering the snake in the cabin, which is it's the whole film in one scene, or the fact that when she falls asleep on the couch, we don't see the murderer that obviously is missing until she wakes up. And even that, the whole film is actually a dream, but that's a whole different conversation. It's from her point of view very specifically. So it's one of those things that if you violate that point of view even a little bit, it falls apart. You need to have that limited point of view. But how do you introduce Mrs. Voorhees without breaking that point of view? You have to have Gallus go into town, I guess, or run into her in the woods, or she has to hitch a ride with Crazy Ralph. There's just no good way to do it.
Yeah.
So while I agree with you that like it feels a little bit like a cheat, it would violate the point of view of the film up to that point to not just introduce her like they do.
No, you make a very good point.
The only way I think they could have done it is put her in the background of the restaurant when Alice walks in. Which way to Crystal Lake?
Maybe.
And just have her turn, not make a big thing of it. Maybe. Is it that important to me? Nah, I don't think so. And I think Betsy Palmer
she was so
salvation
good
for the movie.
Yeah, she was brilliant. Yeah, she was.
I think if they made this film 20 years later, then Betsy Palmer would have played a role in the background of the restaurant.
She would have. That's the difference. Yeah. But I think she's what she brings to that, even just the small role that she had and a very important role that she had, she is so good. Like when I rewatched that with doing obviously revisiting the Friday the 13th series, I appreciated her performance like so much in that movie. She was outstanding, and the fact that she didn't want to do it in the first place makes it even more impressive.
You wanted a new car.
You know what I mean? I thought she was great. I really did.
Do you think, like, when you were kids, though, watching the film, like, she seemed a lot older than what she was in reality?
Yeah.
Yes.
She wasn't even that old.
Like when I was a kid.
Yeah,
people died in their 60s and we thought they had a long life.
Yeah.
Today you're appalled when, I mean, honestly, that gives me 10 years, babe.
Mate, I'll tell you what, you look a lot younger, mate. You look great.
Well, that's so untrue. It's not funny. But anyway,
I'm not even lying.
But Betsy Palmer, the thing about it too is she was really smart vocally.
Yeah.
Things like how she says, "Look what you did to him," right?
Yeah.
It could be overacted.
Awesome.
Right? But tonally, oh my God, does that not reflect the violins on the score?
She's terrifying. Yeah.
It's I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's really, I hate to use the word underrated because it's obviously a big popular film, but she made a career of conventions afterwards. So, but it's up there with the great performances in the genre of all time.
I would agree. Yeah.
And I wouldn't.
If it isn't the first
lines
to be fair.
In the movie, not a cadence, I would change of all her dialogue.
Yeah.
The way she delivers every line.
She was fantastic, mate.
I love that during her soliloquy, she stops talking to Alice and is talking clearly to herself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She intentionally shifts her focus and does it vocally. Like she gives you the intonation. It just changes. And it's brilliant. It's great art. And damn it, doesn't take that and compare it with whatever the name of the Scream killers are at the end of Scream, where they're just kind of explaining how the movie even can happen. There's nothing there. And it's kind of amazing. That's not the problem of the actors from Scream, because I could have named like 7 films that do the same thing, but Betsy Palmer was a big salvation for that movie. It needed to have a big, satisfying conclusion, and for my money, it's the most satisfying conclusion of the franchise. It's just I love the chase. I Adrienne King, no one really talks about her in the final girl sweepstakes the way they should.
She's overshadowed, isn't she?
She is, and it's not fair because she's really, really solid, and she's doing some things that the other girls didn't have to do too. She's holding the center of that movie up much more than any of the other characters. Like from that point, from 2 onward, the viewpoints get wonky. And no single character has to be as much the center of the film. Ginny to a degree, but certainly by the time we get to Trish is not the viewpoint character of that movie. So in regular slasher rules, she shouldn't be the survivor. And maybe that's why Tommy does survive alongside her, because he is the viewpoint character. But I don't know. I think that Adrienne King had a much harder job than any other of the girls in the franchise ever had. I'm not gonna say she was the best actress. That's not that. I don't think that's true necessarily. But she had the hardest job, so I always give kudos.
No, yeah, she is.
Lauren is not in his 30s. You know better. Stop it.
I'll probably wrap things up in the next 15 to 20 minutes, but I think this is a good time to just answer this question before we go in the next. But this might take a while anyway. Darren. So Darren says, "What direction do you think the Friday?" Let's just Dave. Let's Dave get himself comfortable before he can. Just let Dave put his earphones in.
Sorry, right. Well,
okay. No. We're just. I say we're going to probably wrap things up over the next 20 minutes or so. But
yeah, no.
It seems a good time to go out on this question. What direction do you think the Friday the 13th TV series is going to go? I will just quickly go for a toilet break. So I will leave it over to you guys for a second.
No worries, man.
Make sure you get back into your actual stream. Like make sure you don't get locked out of your own stream, buddy.
Yeah. I'm really unsure about this TV series, guys. I don't know what you think about it. I'm curious, but I don't. To me, it's pointless. Just from what I know about it.
I don't watch trailers, just so I don't know anything about going into any movie or series like that. Yeah. But in the age we're in right now, and like most of the mainstream horror movies or film in general that we have, I feel like it's just going to feel like another run-of-the-mill, just reboot.
That's what I'm scared of. Yeah.
And I mean, could it have potential?
Of course.
Yeah, maybe if it's a compelling story, if it works, if it like actually feels like it's in the Friday the 13th universe, that it makes sense going into the original movie. Yeah, it's not. It's another waste of time. It's like another Chainsaw from last year and Scream 5 from last year and on and on.
Yeah. What do you think, mate?
Well, I mean, I know a little bit about the franchise, about the series, and I'm not hopeful.
Oh, right, really?
It's not a prequel to the existing series. It is a new launch that starts before what we think of as the first film. It's condensing the timeline. So it has through line characters that take you through what we think of now as probably the first 4 films. Basically, it's not a condensation of those films, though. It is a new beginning. It's not to use a horrible pun, but so if you're expecting this to match up and lead into the films we know, nope. It's going to lead into a new film series. Right. Is the plan. There's definitely going to be changes to the mythology, what little mythology there really is with Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Listen, good writing can do anything. The fact that they've hired Kevin Williamson for a key role in the writing room of the series and is solo writing the first episode doesn't give me a lot of hopes. I mean, this very well could be the Scream version of Friday the 13th.
Right.
But you know what? I've been surprised in the past.
Of course.
There's been things that I've appreciated. I'll watch as much of it as I can until I can't, and I'll stop. Or if I make it all the way through it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But to be completely honest with you guys, again, you know that I'm just tired of the legacy franchises, but this one hurts because I think we dodged a bullet for the last umpteen years. We haven't received that, vacant cash in that all the other franchises seems to have gotten in that time period. It seemed like it was protected by the lawsuit now. The lawsuit looks like a good thing in retrospect. And now that we're on the other side of it, with people who maybe are fans, but that can go both ways. Fans can sometimes ruin things by over-explaining or misunderstanding a property.
Yeah,
I know that they cast Mr. Voorhees, and that breaks my heart. I do not want to see Jason's dad on screen, and we're getting that.
I really don't care. Like, I
don't know why. I don't know why we'd even get that.
We're getting it. So,
are we gonna have like J. Smith daddy issues or something?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I think it's gonna be worse than that, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
You're gonna make it woke.
He has his father's body up in his house behind the motel.
Yeah,
and the father's really dead.
Is Jason gonna end up being like, is he gonna be gay or what? You know what I mean? It just defroze.
I don't think
surprise me.
I don't think they'll mess with the adult version of the character very much. Yeah. It's the child version of the character, and there is lengthy flashbacks that are supposedly part of it.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, whether they may take a look at like the disabled aspect of him from the 50s. They may pick into that a bit.
My understanding, want to do that. My understanding is none of it's set that far back.
Okay.
Again, they're compressing the timeline, so I think we're getting 80s bait all the way through.
So, how does
I don't know how it's going to work?
But it doesn't sound too great.
It probably isn't going to. That's the answer.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. But you know what? The other thing that really blows my mind is this. Well, if there's a market for slasher television series, doesn't that market exist whether it's called Friday the 13th or not?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to
highlight that.
That works.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm actually fine with that. I just think that you create something great. Social media exists.
Yeah.
People watch the first episode, start screaming to their friends. You got to watch it. Now you can stream it. You didn't miss the episode. Back when I was growing up, you missed an hour of TV. You couldn't get it back. Now you can.
Yeah.
So just create something great, market it great, but something new, fresh. Don't mess with previous victories. Make your own. Isn't that what this should all be about anyway?
I agree, massively.
So
yeah,
that's it.
But the only thing I know is we are getting the series. It is coming. Let's just hope, fingers crossed, that we're all wrong, and that we pretend, we watch this series and we can all come back and talk about it and go, do you know what? It was good. That's what I want.
Mike is going to be very depressed that it's going to borrow all the plot line from Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, fuck that.
No, it won't. I don't think it's going to touch that. They can, but I don't think they're going to touch that.
No. But, it's at the end of the day, I'm open to it. I'm going to watch it. I hope it's good. My heart wants it to be good. And then we'll see what happens.
And your heart will go on right to the bottom of the ocean.
Absolutely, mate.
Has anybody ever consider? It's like, because if we look back to these films from our childhood, and it's a long time ago, but we I always blows my mind when I think about it. It's like
in the galaxy far.
So, well, yeah, no, it's like so. We look back to Halloween. Look back to Friday 3. It was the 40th anniversary last year.
Oh,
that was 1982. Yeah. Now it seems like a long time ago, but it doesn't feel, because we were born at that. Well, I don't know about GT, but I know we all were. We were all alive at that point. But if you think back 40 years before, that was 1942.
Yeah.
Now, if you think back to being a kid in the early 80s, can you think how ancient
Mike.
That time feels as a kid. That feels like the Middle Ages or something.
Mike, you never needed to bring that up. You could have kept that quiet. Keep it to yourself, man.
Do you know what I mean? It's like we time after we're born kind of takes on a different concept to the time before we were born, because we look upon time like it's crazy. You think back to the 60s, it's not that, it was only like 7 years before I was born, but because I was born after the time, it feels like a different,
maybe 3 years before I was born.
Yeah.
But what year were you born in, Mike?
76.
73.
Yeah. But do you understand what I say when I say it kind of, we feel so far removed from a time that, looking back, kids now who grow up in like the 2000s, they look, what is a movie that came out in 1980 to them?
Yeah, true.
Do you know, it's like, it must feel like
it'll be screen for them, won't it?
Mm-hmm. Like, that's why they need their own thing. That's why we should not stand in the way of their having their own thing. We should stop with these endless legacy. I mean, that said, and it's gonna make me into a hypocrite. My heroes growing up were Karloff and Lugosi. So they were from 45, 50 years ago when I was born. Well, not quite, I guess, but so I mean, I guess, but the difference is that was because of what I had access to. The kids today have access to everything at a heartbeat and a click, right? I don't know whether it's going to play quite the same way for them. And I hope it doesn't. I hope they reject all these legacy characters and do force Hollywood to create new for them because they deserve it.
Yeah.
They don't deserve our scraps, our hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
Maybe Art the Clown is the best thing that could happen for them. Maybe.
Do you know what, man? I
don't get me started on Art the Clown, man.
I love Art the Clown.
I'm indifferent to Art the Clown. I love
Art the Clown.
Those films are okay. They're fine. Whatever. They didn't connect on a deep level, but I'm glad they exist, and I'm glad they're doing something fresh for people. That's cool.
I must admit,
I love for Art the Clown. I just find I don't mind the second movie, but the love that character gets is just. I'm just a bit taken aback by it.
I have to kind of. I love the character, and one of the reasons why I do love the character is I must admit, I think the guy's performance for Art, I think he is outstanding. Like he's one of the best performances in horror movies I've seen in a long time.
David Howard.
That's just my opinion. I think he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I like him, but I just don't think that the movies themselves there's not enough meat to them. It's just.
I know, I completely understand that, but I just think his performance, like what he brought to that character, what he did himself. I'm just from an acting point of view.
He's like a mime. He's like a mime artist, isn't he? He's like those guys you see in the street who do all that.
It's like a Betty Boop.
I think he is really.
It's like a Betty Boop cartoon side character. It's got a weird sort of early century.
Are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what, guys? Honestly, it doesn't matter what we think.
Yeah.
We're dinosaurs.
Yeah. David Howard Thornton is phenomenal in that role.
Who were dinosaurs? What you about?
We're dinosaurs. Horror films should not be made for us anyway.
What?
Not anymore.
No.
What do you think? Why?
Nah, we're too old. You know what? The thing is, we can still enjoy things made for young people.
Yeah.
But they can't necessarily enjoy things made for us. They deserve their time.
You make a very good point there, mate. Actually.
And that's the thing. We can still find stuff. I mean, again, if you're willing to dig a little bit deeper, you'll find great stuff outside the Hollywood studio system that'll more than make up for what you think you're losing by giving up these franchises, these long-running franchises. I promise you. It's scary at first because it's nice to be able to walk into your local Walmart at Halloween time and buy that T-shirt, but I grew up not being able to buy a T-shirt at the Kmart, so whatever, right?
Yeah. No, you know what? You make a really good point, and you're actually right with that. Because if you really think about horror, it is very, generational, isn't it? If that's even a word, you know what I mean? It's like it really focuses on the young people of that time.
Beginning of mankind.
No, if you really think about it.
You can really break it down into
and that's why I feel sorry for the younger generation now, because they are getting shit where we got really fucking good horror movies.
It's true.
It is true.
It goes back to the urban legends at the most base form, when people didn't have a million television channels, let alone the internet, right? We all know the story of the Hook, right? Yeah. So what it comes down to is every generation tells that story a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And they deserve their version of the Hook.
Yeah.
You know, in the 60s, Norman Bates was that character. For our generation, I guess it was Jason Voorhees, but they need their version of that character.
And who is
because they're cautionary tales, right? They're learning their world. They're trying to figure out what death and morality means, and they're using these stories to do it. They need theirs. It's time. Let's give it to them. Let's stop with supporting this. We don't need another Texas Chainsaw Massacre next year. We don't need another Halloween franchise on television, which we're getting. We don't need this shit.
Yeah. And who do you think Art the Clown is going to be this?
I don't know. It's the best thing that's on the map right now, the most likely thing, right?
Yeah, that's what it's the most popular.
I don't know.
At the moment.
Yeah, I adore both of them. I love Art the Clown.
I love Art the Clown as well.
But he runs the risk of going down the Michael Ryes route. The more you show, the more you have to explain. The more you explain, the less terrifying he becomes. You know.
Yeah, of course.
It's
unless you have a really good game plan.
But it's such a cool performance. I just really enjoy that guy's performance as Art the Clown, man. I think he's brilliant, mate. I really do.
Have you ever seen All Hallows Eve?
Do you know? No, I haven't, mate. But that was a different guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a different actor. That's what I'm saying. Because check that out when you can, because you will see the difference.
Right.
And Thornton is just—it's not that even the original one in All Hallows Eve is bad or anything. Like, it's still creepy. It's just Thornton just brought him to life.
He brings a personality to him. Like,
what
I love about Thornton's performance as Art the Clown is he's silent, doesn't say a word, but he tells you so much.
Yep.
And that's what I really appreciate.
Clarity, and he just takes joy out of all of it.
It's that Fleischer, like over the exaggerated 1920s cartoon jankiness. He has all that in him.
Yeah.
And it's there's nothing to complain about his performance. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's so whether you like the films or not, you have to be honest with you when you turn around and say the guy that plays Art the Clown, you've got to give the credit to, because he really does make them movies. Like massive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Although I do hope that the post-credit sequence is the direction they go from here on out and abandon kind of the traditional straight slasher elements and just go crazy, because I would love it.
Unfortunately, mate, I don't think they're going to go that way.
I know, but you know what? I can dream.
Yeah, me and you both. Absolutely.
Ben in the chat mentioned Empty Man, which makes me happy.
I haven't seen that film yet, man. Is it any good?
I love that movie.
I love that film too.
One of probably the best film in like the last decade.
It's number 16 on my all-time list.
Yeah.
High place indeed.
Yeah, I adore that movie, and it is a shame how underrated it is, or not.
All right, man. I need to read this. Mike, what did you think of Empty Man?
I liked it, but there's too much to go into. Because I wasn't as big a fan as Lord, so I don't want Lord to just tear me to strips. I'm like, why? It was the best.
The whole cold open, the first 20-25 minute cold open is like one of the greatest cold open seen in a movie.
All right,
and
unbelievable.
And I mean the fact that they looked at the source material, Cullen Bunn's incredible comic book, and said, "Look, we can't do this properly, but what story can we do in this universe?" And they wrote a new story in that universe rather than try to badly adapt what was on the page.
Yeah.
That's so smart, and it's so good, and it works. And Cullen is a fan of what they did because they didn't step on his toes. That's amazing, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Yeah,
I'll
definitely give it a go, man. I'll give it a watch.
Oh yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, it was my absolute. I have no negatives on that movie, and it's one of
it'll definitely be better than Sick anyway. Cheers, Mike.
Yeah. Endlessly ambitious film. Endlessly ambitious
film. Yes, it is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'll give it a go, boys. Will do.
On that note, I'm gonna have to wrap things up tonight, guys, because it's like nearly 1:10. I'm in work in the morning.
Only 8 o'clock, yeah, so it's cool.
But yeah, JT, sleep is irrelevant to JT. You'll probably be streaming Elden Ring at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So
JT, are we jumping on your stream now, mate? Yeah.
Yeah, we're a party. Yeah, maybe next Sunday.
Before I go, Dave, do you want to plug your channel, man?
Yeah, man. Just if you haven't already, guys, just head over to Savage Zombie Reviews. Please subscribe, and I hope you really enjoyed the content. And it's lovely having you there. Thank you very much.
JT.
JT's horror discussions, and I just talk a lot about film. Seriously, like serious film talk, and mixing in just breaking down stupidity and just
definitely subscribe to this man down here, man. These two guys, like, do it.
Thing.
Lorne, have you got anything to plug? I think you might have.
I think I might have something to plug, right?
Divide by Zero, please.
So yeah, please. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, your favorite bookstore. They can all order it. It's distributed through Ingram, so it's available everywhere.
I will vouch for it. It is so good. I am just at the point where they're just getting to the how would you call it?
To Perihelion? Have they gotten to town?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're just getting there. Kelsmith has just got in the taxi service.
Oh, Ren has just picked her up. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So about 120 pages in. Things are getting interesting now.
Oh, things are gonna get nutsy on you. Don't worry. Yeah. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at Lorne Dixon. That's LORND. No, that's not right. LORNEDIXON. And that name below me is not my name. Although if you Google that name, you'll find a fascinating story. Also, potentially, on my channel this week, which is Visited by Voices 1, you are going to have the opportunity to meet the fine, amazing women who run Fractured Mirror Publishing, my publisher. They'll be on my channel live on Thursday. And you can certainly ask any questions to them, or just listen in to us ramble in circles, which is probably what we're going to do. Awesome. Good people who are out there putting out new horror stories, as well as new fantasy stories and new young adult dystopian stories. They're when we talk about people who actually bring new stories to market, these women are those guys. They're that. So it's a good opportunity to be able to put face to just some credits on the inside of the book, right?
Absolutely. And also, just from me, mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight and listening to your opinions. It's been a great night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys.
Just I hope I didn't ruin Aliens for you for all time.
You did, but I respect it.
I didn't have anything to be ruined.
It's been lovely talking to you, mate. Like, really nice to meet you.
You as well.
Okay. And on that note,
have a good rest of the night, and take
everyone in the chat. Thank you for jumping on. Good night.